Hello, my name is Elaine Settergren, the online librarian, and this is a video about choosing quality sources in the health fitness field. The sources you choose can say a lot about you. So you'll want to look for high quality, credible, professional, or scholarly sources. When you're doing research for school or work, you'll want to ask yourself, is this source professionally appropriate? Today we'll look at a couple of common missteps that health fitness students make when choosing appropriate sources and some more professional alternatives. Some excellent source choices are things like PubMed, PT on the Net, Mayo Clinic, and the library. There are a couple of sources that health fitness students often choose that aren't very credible for school research, or work for that matter. Wikipedia, Livestrong, Bodybuilding, and tnation.com. These are not good sources for your research projects, and let's examine why this is. There are two different ideas that we're going to be looking at today. One is the idea of the basic quality and accuracy, and the other is the idea of the source being professionally appropriate or academically appropriate. Let's start by talking about quality sources. This idea will not be new to you, evaluating your sources for quality. Here at the library, we often use the Craap test to evaluate sources. The C is for currency. Is the information up to date? Do you see a date of publication listed? And how do you know you can trust it if you don't know when it was written? Let's take a look at two articles about screen time and health. Okay, we're looking for currency. Well, I see two dates, 2013 and 2012. It looks like it was published in a journal in 2012 and was uploaded to PubMed Central in 2013. So this one is from 2012. This other one is from 2011. If we didn't see a date here, then we would ask ourselves if we can trust it if we don't know when it was written. The R is for reliability. Are the sources cited? Can you trust the information? Now let's take a look at these articles again. Okay, this one was published in a reputable journal, the Medicine and Science for Sports and Exercise. It also has references. Let me just scroll really quick, and it has a lot of references. And they're cited in the text of the paper with footnotes. So that's looking very reliable. Let's take a look at the other one. There are a few references here. Scroll way down here. And that's all right, but there aren't footnotes or in-text citations or anything to tell us which information came from these sources. There is mention of the sources in the text, so that's helpful. But there's just not a whole lot of content here, much less substance. And there are a lot of links throughout the article, but they're all for advertisements, which can be confusing. That's not good for reliability on this one. The A is for authority. Who is the author, and do they have the credentials to be writing about this topic? We do have several authors here, and their credentials are clearly listed and relevant to the topic. Exercise science, biostatistics. This other one does have an author, and if we click on her name, we can see some more information about her. She is a professional writer, but she doesn't hold degrees in exercise science or fitness or anything like that. The fact that she's a professional writer and doesn't specialize in the topic is a clue that this source is popular rather than trade or scholarly. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. The P is for purpose. This one will definitely take some reading. You'll need to read it to decide what the purpose is. Are they trying to sell us something? Is it a controversial issue that they're taking a stance on? Why are they publishing this on the web for free? After reading these, I can see that this first one is published for free on the web because it's an author manuscript that was submitted to the National Institutes of Health for public access. And they're publishing research findings. It looks like this was written for fitness researchers and professionals and public health professionals and researchers. This other article's purpose seems to be giving parents or other caretakers of teens an overview of some of the potential issues of too much screen time. Instead of being written for fitness professionals, it looks like it's written for parents and parents of teens and the general public. After looking at the Craap test for these two, which do you think is more credible? Which should you choose in a research paper? I would definitely choose this first one. It's got currency, it's got reliability with all those wonderful sources cited, and it's got substance. And then for the A, it's got authority. It was published in a reputable journal. It's backed by the National Institutes of Health. And then for the P, the purpose, research findings is a good purpose. And it looks like it's written for people who are studying this topic. Okay, this brings us to our next topic. What sources are professionally appropriate? The RAP part of the Craap test will tell you a lot about if something is scholarly, trade, or popular. Have you heard of these three categories of sources before? They can be in any format, books, websites, or articles in magazines. Let's start by talking about scholarly sources. They're sometimes called academic. These types of sources are always professionally and academically appropriate. And that's because they're written by scholars in the field. They often report on research that's been done, and they always cite their sources. Here's an example. Let's use one of the library's databases, one called Health Reference Center Academic. The library is a great way to find scholarly sources because publishers don't often put it out there on the web for free. Remember, scholarly sources usually publish research findings. This one is from the Journal of Athletic Training. It's all about a research study that was done about college athletes' food choices. The next category is trade. They're sometimes called professional. These types of sources are professionally and academically appropriate, and that's because they're written by professionals working in the field for other professionals. They're designed to keep professionals up to date on the latest news, trends, and information in that field. They sometimes cite their sources. Here's an example. This one is not publishing research findings, but instead is reporting on a research study that was published elsewhere. It's a shortened version of the research just to keep professionals up to date. The last category is popular. Remember, we mentioned popular earlier when we were looking at that Live Strong article. These are not professionally or academically appropriate because they're written by anyone, regardless of expertise in the field. They're not written for a specific audience either. They're written for the general public. Being written for the general public is how they get their name, popular sources. They're for the general populace, which makes them useless in a professional or school setting. They don't have the same level of credibility as the scholarly or trade sources often, because that level of authority is less reliable, and the purpose is usually to entertain. Let's take a look at this example. This one is written for the general public, anyone trying to use exercise and diet to lose fat. It's not written for other fitness trainers, and there are no citations. This type of source, professional sources, they're just not good sources to use in school because they're not the right purpose. They don't have the credibility that scholarly or trade sources have. Some of those websites that we mentioned earlier are popular sources. Wikipedia, Livestrong, Bodybuilding, and tnation.com. They're not credible, appropriate sources to use in school or when you're working with clients at work. There are other sources out there that are more appropriate, and you can discover them by using the Craap Test and choosing either trade or scholarly sources rather than popular sources. If you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and talk to a librarian. We're here to help. You can find the Ask a Librarian link at LibraryConnect. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.